during a pandemic?
One, it's good to look at the whole, the big picture. And I'll speak first as somebody who also served in the Finance and National Planning Committee of the National Assembly. Members of county assemblies, including members of parliament and all state officers, do receive a transport allowance every month. And the transport allowance is supposed to facilitate you in your movement, in your official duties. So what I understand by the letter by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission was they were converting. Now the allowances that these members of county assemblies are supposed to receive, they calculate it and find out how much is it that you are supposed to pay between now and the next election. Because remember, our contracts are usually 5 years. So if that amount of money you are supposed to receive in the next 2 or 3 years can be converted into a now a grant facility, so that you receive, it's like receiving now this money in advance. And remember, this money has already been advanced to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. The only mistake that I think, or the only mishap that I think happened was the timing, because it is not necessarily what it is more of how it looks like. So following a meeting between His Excellency the President and members of county assemblies, where the members of county assembly says, you know what, we need a car grant for the BBI. And the Right Honorable Raila Odinga going and saying, now you people also need car grants, you need car grant. And then subsequently now, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission approving that now creates the perception that it is like a bribe to members of county assemblies. But from a factual point of view, these were monies that would have been advanced or have been given, that is already in the pay slips of these members of county assemblies, that has now been converted into a grant to these members of the county assemblies. And that is the reality. On how it appears is a completely different story.
But the question is, Mheshimiwa, what has stopped the SRC from doing this? Because I remember in the first meeting in Mombasa, when the president, after the 2017 elections, there was a meeting in Mombasa, I think, and the president promised the MCAs the same car grants. Why? What has taken so long, and why is it that the SRC has now realized that actually it has these guys' money when it is time to do the BBI vote, and the president actually told them, you pass this, we give you your car grants?
That's why I'm saying it is very unfortunate, and especially remembering that the Salaries and Remuneration Commission is supposed to be an independent commission. Yeah. And so it being an independent commission means it should not receive instructions
from the political class,
anyone, even including from His Excellency the President. So the fact that it appears that this is after it has been instructed by the President is a bad precedent. It's bad for the image. And again, it sometimes not about what it is about how it looks.
It looks like. So
what it is the money would have eventually gone to the members of county assemblies, and then they just agreed. So instead of giving me this money every month, then let's consolidate this into a car grant. But this following after the meeting with the president, after the meeting and after the words uttered by Raila Odinga, now it shows like it's a bribe to them, or it's something that was just given to them because of this BBI. But the fact of the matter remains is that this would have been money that would have been given to them, and it does not necessarily amount to an increase in expenditure by government.
Okay, so it's the same money, but we are giving you all of them at a go. All right, Abdullahi, then I'll come to you, Mushendu. Abdullahi?
Remember, the president declined to give that offer before, but now that there was hostility from the country and there was a feeling that most Kenyans are against BBI and they're struggling with their lives. It was an enticing package that if you do this, we'll do this for you. But the bigger picture is that shows you how fragile our democracy is. That shows you how fragile our governance structures are. The president is the president of the Republic of Kenya. When he met the opposition of this country, he did not consult anyone on how he wants to do things. He was given the presidency so that he leads people, and anything he wants to do, even though he has powers, still you need to consult the people. Now, that did not happen. Because I'm giving you the genesis of why we have these now. Now, we had the BBI, rather we had the handshake, and then we were told the 9-point agenda, a task force was formed, we had a BBI. It's inevitable that it goes to the county assemblies. They need more than 24, and then it goes to parliament or maybe the Senate, like that. Now, there was this fear. Remember, it was first passed. Where? Which county passed first?
NCI.
And then the second one?
Kisumu has followed, actually.
Yes, and then the third one? So it's mainly Central and Nyanza that are leading. It's because the president visited Sagana and he wanted to talk to his people. I don't know who is my president, because when he goes to that place and he says he's visiting Mount Kenya and he has never gone to Mandera, I wonder whether I'm a Kenyan or I'm just part of Kenya, or of this country. Now, when BBI came and then they want to pass it, the MCAs were called, remember. They were all called in Sagana because Raila was supposed to deal with Nyanza and then the president was supposed to do the Central Kenya. Now, giving a car grant to an MCA for only this term makes the suspicion that it is for the BBI but not other MCAs. If you read the circular, it is only for this term. These current MCAs and the current speakers, which means the incoming, and most of these guys will not come back. If you look at the trend from the last election, in Wajir County, and I think only 1 or 2 came back. In Mandera County, I think there were 3 or 4 out of 30, which means the guys the president is giving car grants are most likely not going to come back because of their record in the county assemblies. Where does that leave the incoming MCAs who will want the car grant? Because the MPs are still getting the car grant. So the issue of having policies and legislative on people's whims, not how strong our Kenya is a constitutional democracy. So everything is fought within our constitution. So the president and everyone else has not consulted anybody on what he does. He does not own the money because it's the taxpayer who is paying that money. He is in charge of the country. Tomorrow he will leave. State House is not Uhuru and Uhuru is not State House. So it was a corruption that blatantly did not respect the Kenyan people, and these guys just want BBI. Why is that is 4-point-something billion bitok. That can pay all the doctors and nurses. It can employ teachers for Molo and Mandera. It can build classrooms in Rift Valley where there's flood, and we'll have the balance to do, maybe give it to Nairobi Metropolitan to be doing the pavements for us in South Sea and Isli. We'll have that money. But because the power that be, and the biggest problem we have is the leaders in this country have conflict of interest as a country because they are tenderpreneurs. They take big chunk of contracts. Remember, there is a report, I think from Parliament, that 30% of the budget is stolen at the budget making process. So kila mtu anajiwekea wakubwa yangu weka hapa, wewe weka hapa, wewe weka hapa. Budget ikitoka, we are told that money has delayed, money is that. So I think it is not necessary. Some of us are asking whether we can go to court and even stop SRC from doing that, because there was no public participation to what they were supposed to do. They did not consult anyone. They do not have the powers to do that. They need to consult Kenyans on whatever they are doing. SRC is an institution that is paid by Kenyans. It belongs to Kenyans. So you cannot just tell us we are paying car grants to 1,450 MCAs where 772 are nominated. Some of them even have never spoken in Parliament. I think it was Kisumu or somewhere in Nyanza. 16 MCAs have never spoken in the assembly. Never. 16 MCAs, and you're paying them car grant.
All right. Okay. Mwishondi, someone has actually advised them to buy pickups because wanaweza warudi wanunue pickups kwenda kufanya biashara wakitoka. Haya.
You know, right now every MCA is entitled to a Kenya 2 million shillings car loan. Right now.
Oh, really?
And I can tell you almost the entire 2,200 MCAs have taken that loan of 2 million. They took that loan of 2 million in 2018 or at the end of 2017. So the reason why they are up and up wanting this car loan, because they will now complete the remaining part of the loan and they will have probably 1 million shillings to spare. Because by now, if you do your calculation, you will have seen that most MCAs will have paid more than half of their loans. That is the truth of the matter. So therefore, when you talk about pass BBI, and you will get 4.5 billion shillings, and this is not something that is going beyond this term. It is not going beyond 2022. That means those MCAs or those who are aspiring to become MCAs in 2022 will not have the luxury of getting these 2 million shillings. On the other hand, the member of parliament, and thank God we have the member of parliament from Moro, is entitled to a car grant of 7 million, whether it is this term or the other term or the coming term. And Mheshimiwa here will tell you, did you see the pension amendment bill they passed last year in August of 2022? They passed an amendment bill that will see an MP without contributing a single penny to that pension. At the end of the 5 years, he will get 35% of his basic pay times 60 months that he will have served in parliament. That will mean that an MP who has not contributed a single shillings to that pension at the end of the term will receive 11.6 million as a send-off package. Those who opt to make contribution to that fund monthly, they will be paid 125,000 a month the rest of their life. My MP here from Moro is a young man. Can you imagine that if today he was to exit 2022 out of parliament and he has made contribution to that pension, he is going to receive 125,000. Yes. Now, they go ahead to give us a burden, the same MPs. Those MPs who served from 1984 to 2001, to date, they were receiving that 1,000 shillings as pension every month. It has been raised to over 100,000 shillings every month. Now, I don't have a problem with an MCA receiving the same thing the MP is receiving if it's about giving our readers. I have the problem that this is a one-off pay for this term. It is not something that has been enacted in the Pension Act so that these MCAs can receive. Therefore, if it is a one-off thing that the president said it a week ago in SRC, she's called Megich. She has now gone ahead to approve.
Elena Mengich.
We can now authoritatively question the independence of the Salary and Remuneration Commission. Because let me tell you, who bewitched this country? The doctors are still at home. And the money they are asking is not even 4.6 billion for their corrective bargaining agreement. But daktari akae nyumbani kwanza, BBI ndio ya muhimu. So me, I am calling Kenyans, not even to, kama wanataka tuipitishe, anikujie na kaa grant hata kila Mkenya akuwe na pro box. Tupitishe hii kitu. There is a funny video going on of a guy analia hivi. I know you people have seen. Ati sisi tunasema kama Uhuru anataka tupitishe hii kitu atununulie mangumu kama za 800 hivi. You understand? The point here is
we all want something.
We all want something out of it because this MCA is a representative of the people. If he has been given 2 million, na mimi naambia watu wa kule kwetu Ndei Award, my majority, the leader of majority of areas in Kiambu County, who in Kiambu they call him leader of majority, but as far as I'm concerned, he is the leader of majority of areas in our county. Anapewa 2 million na akona gari kadhaa, so yeye yake hanunui gari. Tafadhali akija kuwauzia BBI akuje na share yenu pia. Akuje na kitu nini, because let me tell you, and I will say this, the idea of giving MCA's car grant did more harm than good to BBI, if you ask me.
Alright. Mheshimiwa KK, mambo ya Jubilee Page, I think naona pia kama bado kuna maneno kidogo ya SRC, lakini tuende pia to Jubilee Page is going on. Maybe you still have any comments to make on the SRC?
Yes, I'd like to correct some piece of information that my brother here said, that bill, yes, was passed by Parliament. But I must say that I was also embarrassed by the thought that people that actually worked in Parliament years ago, that will have a discussion now to put them on government payroll. It's very, very embarrassing. At a time when most young people are actually employed, during that time I actually questioned the floor of the House. It was during the time that we gave this our young people Kazi Mtani program, and they had not been paid. So like, what is the priority? Is it paying these people who we want to survive for a few days, for a job for a few days? Or is it to pay these people that have actually been there and have exited? And it's good sometimes to give credit where it deserves. The president actually declined to assent to that bill. So as a result, they're not going to get any pension, those people that have been there. And it's important that even when we lash at the president for not doing some things, then there are many things that he has actually done it correctly and corrected why it's supposed to be. And I really give up to the president for actually refusing to assent to that pensions amendment bill that would have meant that would have continued to pay.
The president has refused to give that money to MP, and he did a good thing. But he just, the other day, spit on it, taken the entire sum of money and given it to the MCA. So you cannot say that he has done a good thing.
The pensions was a good thing. You raised the issue about the purge.
I mean, we've the other day, Kangata, the only crime Kangata did was writing a letter. A letter that said that these things you've given us to go and sell, the people have refused it. This is a letter saying, ni kama wewe nikutume nikuambie enda Molo, enda kule Resource Center, ambia watu nataka kuleta breed mpya ya nyanya. Because mnapanda nyanya huko sana ama kitunguu. Uniambie watu wamesema hiyo breed haiwezi mea Molo. Uje uniambie Bitok, tunashukuru sana kwa ile mbegu ya nyanya na vitunguu, lakini watu wamesema hii mbegu haiwezi toboa hapa, mvua ni mingi ama topography ni mbaya. The only crime he did was writing a letter that he felt came from his people, and he actually said that he sent it to the presidency. How it looked, he doesn't know. I mean, of course, there's a question of political formation in terms of parties and all that. Many party members, even in ODM, have been seen to be having romantic relationship outside their parties. You know, is there someone who is deliberately killing Jubilee before the next elections? What's going on in Jubilee? Because I mean, the kind of decision that's being made is quite crazy.
For a very long time, we have formed parties not based on ideologies, but based on individuals. And it's very important to realize who are the owners of these political parties. I think that is the first place. Because as long as you decide that I'm going to be a candidate for UDA or UDM or Jubilee, whatever party, you must agree that that party has the owners, and what the owners say, you get to do. And if you don't get to do what the owners say, then actually you're in trouble. And that is a reality. If you do not want to run by the guidelines of a party, then the Constitution gives you the mandate to run as an independent candidate. We have seen in other countries, even in the US, where so Republicans or Democrats have been lashed out and de-whipped by their political parties by going against the stand of the party. And on the issue of Kangata and the letter, I'll give the analogy of a family, a husband, wife, and children. So if the husband, you are the husband, say, now, sisi, kama wadhetako, tutatoka hapa, tunanunua studio ingine kule, tunanunua nyumba Runda. Na umetangazia watu, umesema tunataka kununua nyumba Runda. Lakini bibi anajua hauna pesa ya kutosha. So, atakuja, akuambie jioni, wewe, mzee, unasema tunanunua nyumba Runda lakini hakuna pesa. Ama ataenda kwa sokoni asema achana na hii mzee yangu hii anashinda akisema tunanunua nyumba Runda na hana kitu. So it's not about the message. It's about how do you portray the message. And I think the Honorable Kangata is lying when he says that the letter actually leaked to the media. I actually believe that he actually did that deliberately. So it's not about who, it's not about the content of the letter, but how do you get to communicate? Because, and I'm saying this with as honestly as, you know, being even honest to myself, the internal affairs of this media house that need to be tackled internally and not necessarily being taken out there in the public. So I think the mistake or the blunder Kangata did was, you know, this is fine, this is the rating on the ground, but as a chief whip, then you have the mandate to use your meetings, your party leadership meetings, to convey this message. But now, writing that letter, what is the difference between you and local Mwananchi?
But the question is, let me ask you, Mheshimiwa, you're a young leader, right? You're a young leader, and probably you still have a lot of way to go. You still have some time to lead the people. You've got to give you an opportunity. The question is it only one narrative that matters? If you go to Molo today, and the people of Molo tell you don't want BBI, you don't have the right to speak it out and say the people of Molo have said they don't want this thing. It's a crime, and you'll be punished for that.
I can.
Is it only one narrative that matters in the presidency? I actually
can, because I am a member. I'm just a member of the party. I am not in the leadership. So I can go and say these are things. I have actually pointed out that there are some matters in the BBI that I feel should be here, or things that people are not comfortable with. And I have the right to get back to the president, to get back to my leadership and say that it's a difference when you are in leadership. And not in leadership as a member of parliament. When you are in, because this matters, for example, the things that I go and find, we have particular issues politically with our party. I escalate it to my, for example, chief whip at parliament. I escalate to the leader of majority, and expect that matter will escalate to the highest office in the land, the party leader. But if you are, it's like this. Let me give an example. It's like how elected leaders will go to. If I, for example, I go to a public baraza or a funeral, and I start complaining about how a particular road has not been done. So, what am I telling the people? What are they supposed to do themselves? Because the only avenue that they have is actually to speak at the baraza, at the funeral. But I have I have the power, the instrument of power, to go and raise these matters with the respective ministry or the floor of the house at parliament. So if I become a complainer, like every other regular citizen, then what makes me the difference between myself and the leaders if I'm not providing solutions? So I think it's not about the one narrative that matters. That's why we get it wrong. It's not that he said this to the president. What he said was actually correct. That BBI at that particular time, even now, is not as popular in the Mount Kenya region like we would like to imagine. And there's a lot of sensitization that's needed. That is a fact.
And that's what the president doesn't want to hear.
No, you as a leader of the party, as a chief whip of the Senate, you do not go and make those matters worse. You escalate it at the official level. There are management things that must be management.
That will be at the management level.
There are things that must be dealt with at the management level, and there are things that should be managed at the market level.
I think today, if there's a visitor who would come to Kenya today, they would think BBI is a road that's being built somewhere, and it's a government project that's being built. Anyway, Abdullah, you know that.
It actually is a government project.
Mweshua does not want to be
Mugende akifika anafikiria hii ni airport inajengwa na Kuru ama
Mweshua is very careful. He does not want to be de-whipped. I'm just saying that
anasema nikosoe nikukangate. Anasema nikungate.
So the thing is, when you look at the political party system in this country, the political parties have been tribal outfits led by people who had interest of just ascending to power. You tell me from 2002, remember President Uhuru Kenyatta was the chairman of KANU, is it? And then he was removed. He came to TNA. And before that we had PADU. Now we have Jubilee. And then UDA is coming up. So political parties that are weak are also making our economy suffer. Because every time we have uncertainty, every time we have issues of, democratic values that are not still within our parties. Yesterday when the senators were ousted and I think they've gone to court, and even that came to play, I asked myself, how fragile is our democracy? Because we've borrowed a Western style of democracy, yes, but did we modify it so that it helps our local population? You cannot compare Kenya with the US or the UK. Maybe we should compare it with South Africa or Botswana or Malawi or Zambia or Ghana. Ghana is pretty well doing better than us in terms of issues of election and good governance and dealing with corruption. You remember the journalist uncovering about, many judges and they resign. Now, political parties in this country are only bridges or vehicles that will pick you from point A and point B. That is it. They are owned by individuals. Look at what's happened between KANU time and Musikari Kombo. Look at what's happening between Fort Kenya right now. Look at what's happening, the Jubilee. You remember when the president was speaking in State House, I think, or somewhere else, he said that we have the highest member of parliament as Jubilee. We can even change the constitution. I doubt whether he can say that today. Because when the deputy president and the president came together, when they came together because they had to deal with the ICC, They told us that they never wanted the Kikuyus and the Kalenjins to fight. No, I don't think that was the reason. They just wanted to ascend to power so that they don't go to ICC and continue building their empires and act as oligarchs as they were those before them. So Kenyans need to think. I would like to talk to people who are below 45. Because once you hit 50, my brother, umekula 50 years.
Half a century.
Half a century. Wewe
umetuacha.
Wewe hujatuacha lakini umetutangulia. 40, 45, 35, 25. We all have children. The systems are as good as those who run them. Now, what happened in Kisii is a good example of who we are as a country. Osoro and Arati. In front of people who are mourning. It is the heart that is very hard for us. We became animalistic. We do not care what happens. I must be rich. Look at what's happening in this country right now. For you to get a tender, you must pay 10%. You go to a CEC, CS or a PS or Treasury, I'm sure off the record, he knows some of these things. You go there. So when you go there, now what happens is,
I'll throw it to you.
I don't have a company personally, because when you buy tenders at 10%, you did not get fairly.
You've eaten your margins.
No, you've even treated other people unfairly. 2, unaambiwa si unajua vile utafanya. You know what you'll do? Unajua utafanya maana yake ni nini? Look at the richest people in government. I was listening to that MP from Central Kenya talking to Murathe.
Yes, Gachagua.
Gachagua. He told him 2013, before Uhuru came, you were broke on a national television. And I was listening. I was home watching late because I wanted to hear the discussion in this country. He told him on his face that in 2013 you were broke.
And he told him, can you disagree? Disagree.
He was broke. You could see how Murathe was acting. If you could read body language, it was like, Gachagua, why are you doing this to me? I am your brother. You see? And that guy did not utter a word. You see? So, why I respect David D. I respect Gachagua. I respect people who respect themselves and speak boldly about this country. Now, when he said that, what does it tell you? For you to be a rich person in this country, if you want to move to Karen, if you want to move to Muthaiga, you must do business with government or act on behalf of government.
All right. So is a purge. You've not told me about the purge in Jubilee. Is it right? Is it an affront on democracy?
I am telling you, our political parties are not based on ideologies or values, and they are not run by men with values and ideals. They normally say, and I wrote it the other day, that when you want to judge a man, you don't judge him on what other people told you. Judge him on his actions. I tried to judge President Uhuru Kenyatta in the last 8 years. I refused to listen to what people told me. But what I saw, he convinced me himself that I cannot listen to him. When you are a president and you go to Central Kenya and you address the MCAs in Kikuyu, and I'm watching television, I don't have something to translate for me. What are you doing? You're code switching. You're putting me off. It is okay to do that, yes. But have you addressing the nation? You know, remove it from the television. Do it in a household, yes. But I'm watching in Mandera. I want to hear the president. He is my president. I did not vote for him, yes. But he is my president. I want to listen to him. I want to tweet my emotions about what he's saying. I want to write about them in an op-ed piece. But how do I get it? I do not. If I was born in Thika like my cousins, I would have gotten everything. But I was born in Mandera. So how does he put me into the status of being in the presidency from this harder child who happens to speak English? I don't speak English. So the purge is coming because he parties in our wenyewe.
Sasa Muchendu, Watu wanangolewa bwana, wewe ni next.
First of all, at the foremost, I want to say that we don't have national parties in this republic. And number two, parties are private properties. So when the owner says your time is up, your time is up. Let me tell you, this country, parties are not run on ideologies. Parties do not have a stand on issues. If you look at the politics of the UK and the politics of the US, where you see, if you go to the US, the Republican Party is known to stand for the rights of people to own gun, the rights of religion not to be defied. If you go on the other side to the Democratic Party, you will see that they are known to stand for economic freedom and making sure that the economy of that country flourishes. So therefore, you do not have if today you are asked with all honesty in mind, what does Jubilee stand for as a party?
Tuko pamoja.
What does it stand for? I saw a joke the other day and I laughed at it, and they were saying, they were looking at the cost of the party symbols for every party. Ukienda ODM ni chungwa. How much does a chungwa cost? Wanasema ile chungwa mzuri ni 30 bob.
Ya South Africa.
Ukienda hii mpya UDA, wheelbarrow, wanasema ni 3,000. Ukienda ingine ya huku Coast iko na Mary, wanasema Mary iko na mamilioni. The only party that has something inapeanwa free is an umbrella ni 300. The only party that has something that is given for free ni Jubilee. Tuko pamoja, salamu, you don't sell salamu. And you know, the person who was doing that
So why are they not greeting each other?
No, let me tell you, it is on a lighter note, but the person was trying to bring a message across that the ruling party does not have something it stands for today. Because let me tell you, you are here accusing Senator Mwaura. I am at no place supporting what Senator Mwaura has done, because I believe we have the Political Parties Act for the purposes of safeguarding political parties in this country. But Mwaura, in his live broadcasted seat with the disciplinary committee at Jubilee House, Senator Mwaura is accused of selling the ideologies of UDA in Msambweni. Today, about 4 or 5 months ago, I remember one nominated MP called Maina Kamanda, studying at, what do you call it, Upper Hill office, the Light Honorable's Upper Hill office.
Capital Hill.
Yes, standing next to the candidate, ODM candidate, and supporting that candidate. I have seen countless times members of Jubilee nominated. We are not talking, because removing somebody like Mheshimiwa here who is elected is not something, because he has the mandate of the people of Moro. These are nominated. The problem I have with Jubilee is not them excommunicating those senators, because rules of a party are there for a certain reason like that. But I'm looking at the resurrective justice, that particular disciplinary action of the party, it is serving to silence members. Why are the likes of Maina Kamanda still in the party? Have we had them going to the disciplinary committee to talk about their involvement with ODM? Have we had the likes of, what do you call them? Khalil, there is a nominated Jubilee Youth MP. Gideon Keta. He is involved with UDA. You have Cecil Barire is nominated. He is involved with UDA. But because these people have not come out to critique the government, they are still in a safe nest. But the moment you stand and start criticizing this government, and Mwaura is being subjected to this, because the other day he gave a very clear indication on how our economy is heading, which is the truth. Today, Mheshimiwa, before God, since we passed the budget, we are in the 8th month of this government financial year. No single MP has received constituency development funds
Not correct. We have received, but only 9 million. To be honest.
9 million in
Out of
month.
100
out of 100 there is a but 9 million out of 100 million
35.
possible 100 million and something, you have not given CDF money. Mheshimiwa here has a responsibility to deliver to the people of Moro.
Students go to school.
And students go to school, do classes. Yes. You have not received your money. If you do, we have about 290 constituencies. Even assuming that they receive 100 million each constituency. You can imagine that the money we are talking about,
2.9 billion.
yes, 2.9 billion shillings. That is the money we are talking about, BITOC. But we have the luxury of giving MCS 4.5 million shillings to pass BBI. But Mheshimiwa here has already done the prioritization barazas in the village for the project the members of the public want. He has gone ahead and the board, the CDF board, have already converged and come up with the project they want to do, and most likely they have sent their request to the national CDF board. But this cannot happen because there is no money to do this BITOC. But we have the laxity of...
There is no money or there is no priority.
I am so mad that exactly 3 months ago, the SRC told the doctors off because they wanted money. If you remember the negotiation between... Remember, the doctors were not asking for something that was not negotiated. They had already negotiated the corrective bargaining agreement with government so that they can be given that money. SRC goes ahead to tell them, we don't have money to pay you, but we have money to pay MCAs who do not talk on the assembly so that they can come and pass BBI. Let me tell you, this is opening that particular BBI to ridicule. That a whole president of the republic would call, and please, people must not say that the president had called Mount Kenya to Sagana. The president called
MCAs,
his sycophants, and those people who cannot question him to Sagana. Over 40 MPs were not in attendance from Mount Kenya.
Hallelujah.
So therefore, you cannot purport to say that Sagana was a Mount Kenya meeting. It was not a Mount Kenya meeting. It was simply taking people who have been telling you that. Let me tell you, what the president did in Sagana, it is like a preacher preaching to already converted Christians to get born again. That is what he did.
Or you give Friday khutbah at the mosque.
Exactly. You know, I was expecting in Sagana.
You wanted him to become a political evangelist to save more lives.
No. He would have called the dissenting voices, understand what is it that they are doing.
Okay.
But when you call people there and you give them Kenya shillings 2 million, that tells you the kind of political parties we run here. They are the political parties, na nilikwambia tukianza hapa ukasema tusiongee ni fanya fujo uone. That is the kind of political parties we are learning in this republic. And I don't have a problem with and you know,
yes,
my member of parliament there, I think for me we need to relook at the Political Parties Act because the expelled Jubilee senators will not be the only one with cases. Today, almost 1.5 years now, we have the case of the expelled nominated MP from Ford Kenya,
Jeffrey Otsotsi.
That case has been with the Political Party Tribunal. And I think, as much as I agree that every person who has been expelled by the party has the right of reply, I have seen Political Party Tribunal has never successfully prosecuted an MP and had him expelled, or an MCA expelled from a party. That tells you, if you ask me, that the Political Parties Act needs to be relooked. Because as much as I don't like what Jubilee did, if a political party makes a disciplinary action against a member, the Political Party Tribunal must not be used as a stubborn block. Sure. They have never fully exercised, gone through a case and given a judgment. These cases utasikia kina Mwaura walienda wakapatiwa stay order, tumevutana hiyo term imeisha. So I think Bitok, the question is not whether as a party they were given authority by the political parties and their political party constitution to do what they did.
All right.
As to whether whatever they did was genuine, that is a question for another day. But what they did was okay, but they are doing it selectively to those they feel that are fighting government. This government does not want to be questioned, and unfortunately so. The behavior of the national government has crippled to the county government. Ati leo ukiuliza swali unakimbishwa hapa DCI.
Haya.
File yako iko itabebwa.
As we roll it over to mheshimiwa, jana David D threw a spanner in the works. He said Sagana is not Central Kenya. Sagana is a state house. It's Central Kenya. Sema rais alienda state house akaenda kaita watu. Na bunge la mwananchi iko wazi, nambari ni 07798010 07798010. Bunge la mwananchi iko wazi. Unaweza piga simu uweze kuchangia. Ndasoma comments kidogo alafu nipe mheshimiwa atuambie. Kisinga Nebrian sema tuned in from Mombasa, Kenya. Asante Joel Arama. Maina Commander was speaking the party wishes. Joy Karis anasema Jubilee is dead. Guys, just imagine Deputy Secretary General of Jubilee saying he will support ODM candidate. What would happen? Abbas Njuguna says MB should know the 9 million. The 9 million is a drop in the auction in a constituency. Should not defend government starving constituencies. Uya Kuria, I don't need anybody to come and tell me to pass the so-called BBI. I can't and I won't. Bernard Thuri from Molo constituency. Weke says Ansama hapa kesa Santa Abbas Njuguna, Raila is a genius as far as holding together for his party is concerned for a very long time. If he can convince all government in power to deconstruct itself and interestingly substitute some of its positions with its members, if he can convince government in power not to field a candidate in a by-election, then what else do we need? All right, that's got interesting. Abbas Njuguna. Chiria Kileo says the MPs bias the pro-PBI. However, the Jubilee leadership is controlled by cartels and brokers. I'm not surprised the MP can have a say unless you are close to the cartels. Kama yako karibu na cartels, you cartel ni nane. James Mwanda sema Kimani needs to tell us how to approach the president, since the only time the MPs and senators get to see the president is when they are summoned to State House or KICC. KICC to be lectured. I'm not saying the MP anacheza defense game. Haya, hata nikurushia kwa sababu mezama unacheza defense game mingi. Zungumza. Alright. Joel Arama, hold on the line. I'll come to you.
I'll start by the statement about political parties. Let's call a spade a spade. For a very long time, we believe that Jubilee was owned by Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto. And at first, there was a lot of hassle and tussle to see who controls the party. And eventually, I think the president proved that he actually owns Jubilee political party. Wiper Party is owned by Kalonzo Musyoka. Amani Congress is owned by Musalia Mudavadi. Ford Kenya, I think, is still owned by Weta. Yes, that's also. Chama cha Mashinani is owned by Isaac Ruto. Maendeleo Chap is owned by Alfred Mutua. Now UDA is owned by His Excellency William Ruto. So let's call a spade a spade. These political parties have owners. Now, in my language, we say, vitu za wenye itiri joka irono. You know, what is not yours has no when should I come back for it. Because the person who gives you something that is not yours can come for it anytime. And that's the reality. You know, I was trying to be diplomatic, but there's also to be diplomatic here. These political parties have owners. And if you don't do what the owners want, you'll be kicked out. Irrespective of which party. And I think that is what we need to probably work on. We need to strengthen our parties so that our parties can stand for something and they're not necessarily owned by individuals but owned by ideologies. But until we get there,
we still have a problem.
Hivi vyama ni vya wenyewe na tukiwa kwa nyumba ya wenyewe tunakaa venye mwenyewe anataka. The question about David D saying that Sagana State Lodge is not Central Kenya. Everyone has a place. If I want to make a particular statement, there are places in my constituents where I like to go. And everyone, and I think for the president he has taken Sagana as his place where he goes to address his people, because again, and my colleague here said very well, no, he's from Mandera and all that. But before we sold Uhuru to Mandera, we had first sell in his region, because as you speak, our especially presidential elections, our elections are purely ethnic based. You cannot be a Kikuyu and be elected as a governor in Garissa. You cannot be a Kikuyu and be elected a governor in Siaya. You cannot be a Kalenjin and elected a governor in...
Junaid Mohammed is Auria, an MP in Nyanza.
We call them outliers.
It's an exception.
It's just an outlier because he's very loyal to Baba. And so what Baba says there becomes the truth. So let us say the truth. And so the president knows that before he became the president, before he was accepted in the rest of the public, he had to be accepted at his backyard. And that's why, even if you remember the funeral that there was for the late Musalia Mudavadi's mother, people telling him, President, you need to crack the whip in your area, because we respect you here, we are supporting you here, but you're not being supported from where you come from. So it was just a moment for the president to go back to his backyard, because that is the politics of this country. The 2 weeks before Sagana, we had His Excellency William Ruto go to Kericho and hold a very big rally there in Kericho, speak in mother tongue in Kericho there, because he was speaking to his people. Now we have Raila Odinga calling his Sagana his
Sagana in
Nyanza so that he can convince his backyard. And soon we'll see Kalonzo calling his Ukambani backyard to convince them. And unfortunately so, that is the politics of this country. And if you think that is not it, then you're living in the moon, and not in the reality with the ground. And until we fix that, and we say we are electing these people because we stand for ideologies, until that time when we look at someone like Kivutha Kibwana and say he has done great for the people of Makueni and he deserves to be president, even when he's Kamba, even if he doesn't give me a handout, then that's when we will say we're moving forward as a country. But the moment people will they will praise you on social media. They will tell you this is our president, our people's president, his idea, this person has ideas. Wait until you run for a political office and you remember, mimi ni Mkalenjin, mimi ni Mkikuyu, mimi ni Mkamba, mimi ni Mkabila, na huyu si kabila langu. So until that, we change that direction. Unfortunately, we still have to go back to our ethnicities, and we must be our regional kingpins before we come and convince the rest of the country. And until we fix that, we'll have a problem.
Joel Arama, good morning. Is it good evening where you are? Jambo Arama.
Hey, good morning bwana.
Good evening to you, sir.
Salama sana. Sasa unajua ukileta Muchendu kwa mkutano bwana, you make me stay awake.
Kwa nini?
Now, I don't know what I'm going to do with Muchendu.
Why?
There are others.
Muchendu anafanya nini?
He makes me wake up.
Anafanya ukosa kwenda kazi.
Wewe ndio alama yake.
Huyo ni when I visit lazima tutakunywa chai na Muchendu.
Kabisa, ukikuja lazima nikutafutie huyu jamaa. Aya, zungumza nikusikie dada.
Lazima tutakula chai hapo.
Niambie baba.
Aya, let me start with my brother from Northeastern.
From Mandera.
Mandera.
My brother.
Please.
Then kama neteke internet iko mbaya kidogo. All right.
I thank you so much.
Can you hear us, Arama?
Let me talk to my member of parliament.
Yes. Okay, he's here.
I'm sorry.
I'm here.
Yeah, member of parliament.
Yes, sir.
From my area, you know, I have an advantage of claiming Molo, Kuresoi, and Nyamira as my areas members of parliament. When ni mjama yangu ya Molo bwana. Wewe mudhe. Nitengenezea barabara ya Kapsita bwana.
Ya kutoka gani ya Kapsita? Ya kutoka Mau kwenda Kapsita?
Yeah.
The Mau Kapsita road.
Kwenda Kapsita, my mzee wangu anapandaka pikipiki na muangusha mgongo na niko na gari bwana. Sasa unataka apande kwenda wapi?
Tuna Kapsita mbili, kuna Kapsita ya Molo na kuna Kapsita mbili. Kuna Kapsita ya Elbago na Kapsita ya Molo. Wewe unatoka Kapsita gani?
Nasema Kapsita ya Molo bwana. Ukisimama Molo town ukiangalia Kapsita pale ng'ambo ama ukiwa Kiple pande ukiona ile nyumba kubwa kama stadium ya Mabadi Road hapo ni kwangu. Hapo ni nyumbani.
Nimeiona. Tutashughulikia hiyo maneno bwana.
Ya, ukisikia Kama uko Molo, kama unasikia jina inaitwa Arama, mzee Arama, huyo ni that's my dad.
Oh.
And I know my brother actually knows you very well.
Okay,
so ukifika huko, hebu enda umsalimie kwanza, umwambie tumeongea na wewe.
Utamsalimia kesho.
Alafu amwambie pole kwa mgongo yenye maangusho na pikipiki.
Natamwambia pole kwa pikipiki.
Ampelekee liminen na David.
Sawa bwana, Arama enda shughulika.
Let's talk about leadership. Remember I talked about this some time back, and I said, and I will use examples of, we like using of examples of other places.
Yes.
Let me use the example of Britain. When Theresa May was the prime minister, and she had disagreement with members of cabinet who did not agree with the policy she was trying to push forward. What those members of cabinet did, they resigned from their office.
Honorably.
And went to be regular members of parliament. They resigned, because the cabinet secretaries or members of cabinet are also members of parliament. So they resigned. Now, to the leader, Irungu Kenyatta, and others who have been in the same position, when you disagree with what your party stands for in a leadership position, the best thing you can do, because you have failed on the mandate, you feel like Kenyatta said he does not believe that BBI is being accepted where it comes from, or in the central Kenya region. If that was what he believed, and I believe strongly that he has an accurate picture of what's happening in that area, but your party put you in that position for a purpose. But since you have come to conclusion that you cannot effectively push that agenda forward, why are you still in office? Step down. As a good leader, when you cannot do what the party says, or you cannot push forward the party's agenda, you simply resign. Why put us through all this drama for something that eventually it will come to the same position? Now, I've been, one thing I like doing is doing research on party constitution and everything. And I took some notes on the political party called Jubilee and their constitution. You have to be a member, being a member, which means you have to pay some membership fees. And they have several categories, platinum, gold, and all that, and a regular member. Now, for the ones who are saying, I saw a statement, somewhere almost 140 or whatever number of Jubilee members of who are saying they are not going to remit their dues to the party. Which means you see...
Hello?